Okay, let me express first of all my deep appreciation to be here tonight for the privilege and the honor to report my work to you all. I ask you to be patient with my English. I don't speak English very often. My Italian is much better than my English. But I hope you will understand at least the meaning of what I'm going to say tonight. As I told you, it's a big honor to me to have fellowship with this congregation, and I really appreciate your care, your love, your stay by me in my work for the Lord. Hebrews 13 says, greet all of your leaders and all the saints. Those from Italy greet you. Grace be with you all. Well, this means that 2,000 years ago there were Christians in Italy, and they were sending their Lord. And I may say that even today, after 2,000 years, there are Christians in Italy that send to you all their greeting and their love. Let me talk about my work in Trieste, first of all. Trieste, it's a nice town. I love to be in Trieste, even though I was born in Rome, and we are very proud to be Romans, you know. But Trieste is my second town. Trieste is on the Adriatic Sea, just near the border with the Slovenian country. And you see, just in the northeastern part of the Italian boot. It's a nice town, it's a port, and has a nice thing to see, like the Miramare Castle, that was the summer residence of the Archduke Maximilian of Habsburgo. This is the street where there is our meeting place. Our meeting place are quite different from the one you are used, because we don't have the opportunity to build our meetings, and we don't have the land, we don't have space enough. So we meet in the shops or in the apartment and flat. And in Trieste, we meet in Via San Francesco Street, and see the sign, Church of Christ, Chiesa di Cristo, is our sign to let people know that we are there. And we have another sign, you know, and our entrance is located in the courtyard of this old building. And there are the steps, we meet at the upper rooms, like the Bible says, you know. And this is our auditorium. And it's not large like this, but it's comfortable for the Christian in Trieste. How we work in Trieste? I think that we work like you work, because to preach the gospel is the main work of the church. But also to string the brethren, it's a work of the church. So we try to have a class. Like I saw this afternoon, it was very, very nice to see the class for the young people. And Pina and I were really touched, because it's great to see the young people singing and learn about the Bible. We try to do the same, and we have studies in the homes, like you may see in this slide, and we try to build up the knowledge of our members, and especially of the young people. We print our own materials. Unfortunately, we cannot go to a bookstore and buy good material because we don't have good material in the Italian language. So we have to write and to print our own material. And lately we print, thanks to the help of some brethren, a book on the New Testament development, the text of the New Testament. And is very useful because one of the main problems we are facing now in Italy is just people don't believe anymore in the Bible, in the authority of the Bible, in the ability of the Bible. So we have to deal with this topic very, very often. Then, there's nothing. Then we like to work with a gospel meeting, like you do. And we have the blessing to have a brother in Monfalcone who is a designer, a graphic designer. And he does very, very nice posters that we may let people know about our gospel meeting. Generally, our gospel meeting, we held our gospel meetings outside the meetings of the church, the normal meeting we have, because people in Italy has a lot of prejudice. They don't like to come to a Protestant church. Think that the majority of people in Italy are Catholics. Generally, it's very hard to me to talk with a man that is not a Catholic. Maybe some Jehovah's Witnesses, maybe some Pentecostals, but I never found a Baptist, I never found a Methodist, I never found a Presbyterians. So let's say the religious environment is totally different from here. You here are the habit to have several denominations. In Italy, there is just one big denomination, it's the Catholic Church. So our meetings, gospel meetings, are mainly toward Catholicism, and we deal mainly with Catholicism. This was Church of Christ in Monfalcone, and we presented two lectures on Jesus. Who is Jesus for you? And Jesus and the Church. This was another on the faith. It was the church in Trieste. And the faith in the Bible, and to have a faith today. What does it mean to have the faith today? This was the two main topics, you know. And see, this is a big posters on the street, so people may know that we are doing a Bible study. And of course, this is a big effort that we do, because it costs a lot of money to print, and especially to pay to be affixed all around the town. But we think it's worth it to be done, to let people know that we are there and that we want to preach the gospel to them. Sometimes we go on the street just to put some materials and try to come in touch with the people. But the people generally, when they saw, they go on the other sidewalk, you know, and they don't even take our material because they really don't want to have anything to do with us. But we are there, and sometimes we succeeded to get some contacts. A nice thing in Trieste happens in 2009. We elected elders. Me and brother Antonio Tommasi are now have the honor to serve as elders in the church in Trieste. At that time, we didn't have men qualified to be deacons, so we elected just the elders. But fortunately, 2 months ago, we may elect 4 men to serve as deacons in the church in Trieste. So it was a very, very blessing moment for all the brethren and for the progress of the church. Let me tell you something about the work in Monfalcone. The work in Monfalcone is going very, very well. Monfalcone is a town that is, about 25 miles far away from Trieste. It's no big town like Trieste, but it's, let's say, a pretty sized town. And when I went to Monfalcone 10 years ago, they called me because they were without preaching, and they were an institutional church, and they were very, very prejudiced against me. But they have nobody going there, and they had somebody teaching premillenarianism. So they don't know how to answer to this man, and they called me just to go there and to teach on the millennium and of course against premillennialism doctrines. So I went and I found few people. I found few people. When I took this picture, 3 people there were not Christians, and they just went away. So I found just 5 Christians in Monfalcone at the beginning. But I found good people. I found people who was willing to study the Bible, willing to grow, willing to follow Jesus and His Word. And we were blessed, really. God blessed us a lot. And this was the old meeting place we had. And after a while, as you may see even from this slide, the church was growing in number, but was growing especially in knowledge, was growing especially in their love toward God's Word. And we were blessed again, and we had several conversions, and our meeting place became narrow. There was a very nice problem when you have this problem, very nice problem. I wish I always have this kind of problem, you know? And we got a new meeting place where we could stay larger. We had 2 rooms to have the Bible classes for our children, for our young people. And that was a blessing to us, really a great blessing. And this was the church in Monfalcone a couple of years ago. As you may see, the church really grew a lot, and God really blessed our work. And let me tell you, maybe normal to you, but it's not in Italy. In Italy, it's very hard to preach the gospel because Catholicism is really still strong in the mind of people, even in the mind of people that do not believe. Even if they do not believe, they are Catholics. That's strange. That seems impossible, but this is the reality. And when you have to talk with these people, they maybe it takes years to convert them. And so it was really something amazed what happened in Monfalcone. And this man is Pietro. Pietro is a detective, you know, in a police in Trieste, and he is one of the men who attended the gradual Bible study for the years that we have done. Now I will talk to you about in a short time. It will be the 5th year that we do this work. And Pietro grew a lot, and he was able to hold a gospel meeting, See, outside our church meeting, he did a wonderful job. And God blessed this work, because that night, two young people, Giovanni and Katia, attended that gospel meeting. And after that, they started to study with me. We have been studying for few months. We studied twice a week. We studied several hours because they wanted to know. They wanted to, they were eager to understand the Word of God. And Katia was baptized first, and then Giovanni after a while. Let me tell you, brethren, they are having big trouble with their families. They are having big trouble because their families, they don't want them to attend the church. They don't want them to be Christians. Katia's father was very nasty with her. She told her, I would prefer you to be a prostitute rather than going to this church. And Katia's father doesn't believe in anything. But just because it's a shame for them that their children don't go to a Catholic church, that's a shame for them. So those two young people are really striving and are so strong in their faith. They are an inspiration to me, a great encouragement, because really their faith is solid like a rock, and they are really striving against all these difficulties. Big example for all the brethren in Monfalcone. Let me tell you something. I was a blessing, because when I met my wife, Pina, she comes from a strong Catholic family. My father-in-law was the prior of a brotherhood, a Catholic brotherhood, and he was well known in the village where Pina was living. And it was very hard for them to accept me, because I was not just not Catholic, I was a preacher. So it was very hard to them to understand. But I didn't have the problem that Katia and Giovanni are going through, because Pina's family was always very gentle with me, and they really do not oppose my wedding. They do not oppose Pina when Pina became a Christian. So I can say God was really good with me, and I appreciate Pina's family. But not always this happens. Katia and Giovanni, they are really going through a hard situation. And we all try to be near them, to strengthen them, to encourage them, because they need this. And I ask you to pray for them, because it's important. Well, this is the last lady who obeyed the gospel just a few days ago, just a couple of weeks before we came to the state. Graziella is her name, and just to let you understand, she is attending the service in Monfalcone since 8 years. You say, she must be very hard, but this is the way in Italy. Finally, she understood that she had to be baptized. And after 8 years of study, after 8 years, she obeyed the Lord. It was a great joy for the church in Monfalcone too. Of course, we had to go to Trieste because we don't have the baptistry yet in Monfalcone. Because right now we are moving again. We are moving. Oh, Pierina, okay. Let me. Yes, this lady, okay. She is. Okay, sorry. This lady is. I thought it was sorry. Okay. This lady is 90 years, 96, 97 years old. And she was the first that was baptized when I when I started to work in Monfalcone. At that time, she had 87 years. She was 87 years old. And it was amazing to me because she wanted to obey the gospel at the age of 87 years. And she is still there, faithful. Every time she is there, if she cannot come, she is really suffering. She is an inspiration, really. Pierina is her name, Pierina. Okay, and she came to Trieste just to assist to the baptism of Graziella. I was telling you that, this was the day of the baptism. We had problem again in Monfalcone. We had problem because the owner of our meeting place had a problem with the law and he went bankrupt. So we had to leave our meeting place and we were very worried about this. But also in this occasion we were greatly blessed by the Lord because we find a very, very nice meeting place. We will have 6 large windows and we are just a few meters from the downtown, so very, very good place, very visible place. And see, okay, let me point. So 1, 2, 3 from this side and 1, 2, 3 from the other side. And we are working. I'm working too. The brethren are working. They are sending me picture how the work are in progress because we had to do some work. But everybody is really doing his part, and everybody is involved in the work as they can, and this is really a blessing. See, we have a lot of things to do, but just little by little, and we hope to build also a baptistry. So we are really doing this. Let me say something. Let me say something to this family, David and Gianni Trombley. They are not just brethren to me; they are special people for me, especially David. And we appreciate Gianni because Gianni shared David with us. David is a great help for me, especially for me. He knows me since many years. This was in 1989, the first time that David came to Italy. After we met, we studied together at the Florida College. But he was preaching at the time for the 12th Street Church in Bowling Green, and he came to visit me for the first time. And those are my children. My children, Riccardo and Beatrice, they were just little ones. you know. And this is after a year. We stay with David visiting him in 2002, you know. David looks younger. I look the same, but David... Okay. It seems to me, you know, okay. And David was near to my father, to my mother, even when they passed away, and I really appreciate this, And David preached for us several times. He speaks Italian much better than I speak English, so he really can preach, and the brethren really appreciate his sound preaching. This is just a few months ago when he was with us, and this is in the old meeting place in Monfalcone, where David was preaching. Is helping me to do the study with the people, with the young people, with the old people. We like to study together, and we work together. We did a gospel meeting. You know, we did a lecture on the Da Vinci Code, and we did this lecture in Trieste, in Monfalcone, in Rome, and in Naples, and was a great experience. Just talk by turn, you know, on this very important subject. When there was the movie that came out and the book of yes. And this is, David was with us when we elected the elders in Trieste, and David was with us when we elected the deacons a few months ago. But the most important work we are doing together is, for sure, without any doubt, the training Bible class in Grado. This work involved the teaching of some man that may be able to carry on the work in the future in Italy, and especially where I am working in Trieste and in Monfalcone. Years went away very, very fast. Time just, realize it seems impossible to me that I know David since 35 years. It seems impossible. No, it seems just few years, but there are 35 years that we know each other, and time will go. So we need to prepare the young man to be able to carry on the work of the Lord. And this is a very, very important moment. At the beginning is David preaching, see, insegnare e predicare il Vangelo. It means teach and preach the gospel. There was a lesson just focused on this subject. And at the beginning, we had 5 teachers to do different classes. We have done this for 3 years. Then David and I decided to be just me and David, the one who teach. So we have more, it's heavier, but we have more, let's say, approach with the people, with the young man. This was Grado 2 years ago, I guess. They was working just with few men, doing just different classes, like we are going to have this year, because this year we have many new entrants, So we have Giovanni. I was talking about Giovanni before. Giovanni will come. We have other 2 young people, Marco from Monfalcone and Marco from Trieste. So we will have really divide the classes, to have the classes for the new entry, to have the classes for the people who is in advance. And those are some young men of the Trieste church, and these are some young and less young men in Monfalcone. This is David with Stefano and Andrea, two men who now are preaching while I'm here. They both will preach on Sunday morning in the church in Trieste. And I want to say this to finish, because this was something very, very great, and I really appreciate. I thank Brother Len Malden, because he brought some brethren, and they worshipped with us, and we spent a wonderful day together, a day of fellowship, a day that we'll never forget. Was a moment of fellowship, as I wrote, beyond any language barrier, because we were talking with our hearts, we were talking with our eyes, with our smile, being hearing that we have a common faith and a common hope, and the bond that was tied us was stronger than any border. And we had a wonderful worship. We sang in English, we sang in Italian. We all together did something that, as I told you, we will never forget. See, we never had so many people in our. Even this was thrilling. It was great. But then we had a lunch together, and this was even this a special moment, a moment in which we could talk, we could be friends, we could be encouraged one another one, and there was a moment of great joy, really great joy. See, the young people may have other young people to talk with. Let me tell you, one of big problem of our young people, that we are just few, and it's hard to find some young people to talk with the Bible with. Generally nobody care, and this is a problem. And to see so many young Christians was an inspiration for Giovanni, for Katia, for the other young people in our congregation, and to talk, even if sometimes you don't understand each other, but the same was nice, was great, was a great joy, See, you may see from this picture, see, this is Marco. Marco is the new entry in the gradual Bible study. He is talking. He was happy that day because he saw other Christians in the world. We are not alone. We are not the one. There are other Christians who fight together with us for the kingdom of God. And this is me with my wife and with Michael, the son-in-law of David and Jimmy. Wonderful, wonderful memory. And I really appreciate the brethren who came and stayed with us during their vacation time. But they find the time to be with the church, to worship, and to be in fellowship together. Brethren, let me say you just add a few things. I want to just say that sometimes when you preach the gospel, you don't have always, we say, roses. No, we have also thorns. Sometimes preaching the gospel means to have suffering, means to go into difficulties, means to face persecution, even if no physical persecution, but let's say when people tease you, when people do not listen to you, when people is a suffering in our hearts. And the only remedy is to trust in God's ability to take care of us. And it's great to hear the word of God that says to us, what then shall we say to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? And this is what gives us the strength to go on, the strength to overcome any difficulties, the strength to be together with other brethren, because we know, as Paul says, that the same fighting is fought in all the world. John, in the Revelation, when he eats the book, he feels the sweetness of the word in his mouth. The sweetness that we felt today together when we worshiped. The sweetness that I'm feeling now here with you all. But he felt also the bitterness of the problems, the bitterness of sin, the bitterness of persecution that comes in the life, because the sorrow first or later knocks at the door of everybody. So the only things to do is trust in God. What then shall we say to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? Nobody. I again thank you very much for your patience, for having given me this opportunity to report you my work, and for the fellowship you have in my work. Thank you very much, brethren. I really appreciate it.